Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another Winchester Wednesdays. I'm your host, Winchester 572, and we are back for yet another wonderful episode of Winchester Wednesdays. How are y'all doing? I hope you're doing good. We have another reading tonight. We have another reading tonight going through. I managed to assemble a crew for this again. Wasn't quite sure. So yeah. I would do that. But anyways, let's get back in here. Everybody is shitposting in my channel. God damn it, I hate it when they do that. Well, I guess let us get into the Cole. Hello, Cole. Stop fucking shitposting in my chat. I hate shitposting.
Is this Lord? It's not me.
Mods are not asleep. You cannot post ponies.
I cried.
Oh, man.
We got one victim. Forrest cried.
Double R died.
God damn it.
And now I'm a ghost. Or
I blame Lycan.
Yep.
Do you spell ghost with two G's as well?
Ghost.
I thought
Is
it was
this like
two
cool
H's for
whip?
ghost.
Or
Is this
two
like cool?
or two S's.
It's two of everything. Let's be honest.
Go.
Come on down to Winchester's Emporium where we got two of everything. You need a shotgun? Get two. Two shotguns. Second one, double price. Thanks.
It's like when you have those cheap Chinese
Double
knockoffs.
price.
Yeah, buy one, get one for
Double
$2.
the price, double the barrels. Here we go.
Oh god, I'm scared. Help.
Alrighty. So now, starting on this week's episode of Please Hold Me, I'm Scared, we have my wonderful co-hosts, Crazy Matt Captain and Sky Reese.
Yeah.
Everything is green, and that is good.
I just said that so loud, I just heard it reverberate through the entire apartment. I'm pretty sure I just woke up my neighbor.
Have fun with that.
I just lost one of my shotgun shells, and for that I'm going to blame it on forest rain.
Indeed. I probably ate it. Let's be honest.
Thanks, Obama.
Ow! Damn it!
Maybe don't hit your head while you're picking up your shotgun shells.
I blame hitting my head while picking up shotgun shells on our fanfic editor, Double R Forest.
I find this overindulgence in hick culture to be truly disgusting.
Quite.
And I blame Lycan for something, because I'm sure he's done something punny.
He was the one.
Oh, I
shitposting.
did. I tried to organize a space party. I had to plan it.
Which planet? Was it Uranus?
Mars.
Oh.
Yeah, we have to probe deeper into that one.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of probing, we have Sora.
Excuse me?
You heard me!
I didn't sign up for this shit. What crap? I didn't sign up for that. Anyway, hello. Yes, hi.
Yes, it's a dark hole we won't go down.
Also, don't worry, Broken Skies, I have plenty of shotgun shells in my back alley. I mean closet.
And you made an error with your start screen.
I did?
Oh no.
Oh, fuck. Commander's here! Commander's here in spirit! Woohoo!
Hey, little note for Wesley this time. Could you maybe remember to swap over so that we can actually read the story this week?
No!
Okay, well, I figured I'd ask for the masses.
There. Commander has been removed from this universe.
You know,
Poor
looking
Commander.
at this, I didn't realize I didn't do Lycan's OC yet.
Oh.
You also didn't do your own.
Fuck
Hey.
I don't know what happened to Forest. That's why I'm using EOH Forest.
You should probably just use Tempest Shadow. Let's be honest.
I can send you that one.
I never...
Actually, that one's still sitting on my speaker. God damn it! Why you make me talk like a country motherfucker?
Such a great
Hey, it's working!
All right, there you
'Cause
go,
those
Winchester.
live
Put that in
phone.
there.
God damn it, where'd it go? Oh, up there.
See, that's what happens. If you don't know what Applejack sounds like yet, Sora, this is pretty much what Applejack sounds like, except a little bit less uncouth.
Well, shoot. Then I guess I'll have to be couth.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Save
There.
images. Go to new slave.
We can get there. We'll
Wait,
get
it's not new slave. It's in just slave.
You can't say slave, especially
Why
not with
are
that
your
accent.
why is your disk
I
system
would
named
appreciate
slaves?
if no one said slave right now. With me present, thank you.
What is with your disk drive naming system?
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
I got a
Slave
slave
drives.
drive,
Master
slave.
drives and slave drives. It's from the Windows IE or whatever the fuck cable days. The big ribbon fuckers.
IDE.
Windows
IDE, there we go.
95 with IDE. Yeah.
I think I still got an IDE cable somewhere.
Oh, there we go. EOH files, headshots.
Are
Throw
you
it in
Sam's
there.
slave?
Am I what?
Are you Sam's slave?
Oh my.
Nah.
In bed.
No, it's the other way around.
I out of the two of them, I'd see Sora as the Dom in this one.
Well, until Sam starts drinking. Once he starts drinking, then the dynamic switches.
Oh my.
Oh god, cider fest.
Or then we have
And that's a
Ciderfest,
story for
what, 2
another
years
time.
ago?
Winchester, if you want to keep yelling, the commander suggests that you turn yourself down.
Hmm.
I turn my
Well-
compressor up.
Well, he was playing a scientist in it. Well, it depends on how that compressor works. But yes.
It's on the X32, so it can work
He's just gonna
however
be
you want,
the
baby.
angriest scientist and entity in the world. What do you think if we collide these two particles?
I think it's bullshit.
Hello, everyone, and I'm going to be Dijon Mima for the day.
I mean, I
That
was
was-
going to tell you a chemistry joke, but there'd be no reaction.
Well, it'd be
Oh,
a chemistry to me.
Okay, well, that's enough of that bullshit. Tonight we're reading chapters.
Wait, I have to add the pictures first.
Okay, add the pictures. Add the pictures while I speak. We're reading chapter 16 of Project Sunflower by Whoopie McGee, called the Iron Pony Competition. But so tonight I will be doing narration because Larsus is apparently too good for this network now. Double R will be playing Twilight Sparkle as well as Paul Velchek again. Skyrays will be playing Spike, which we informed Sora about 10 minutes ago was the assistant to Twilight. Sora, meanwhile, will be playing Rainbow Dash and Applejack. CMC will be playing Aaron / Sunflower. Lycan will be playing Pinkie Pie, typecast. And that's it. That's all the people in this episode. Yeah. So they're making puns about pH balance. That's not great. Project Sunflower by Whoopie McGee, Chapter 16, The Iron Pony Competition. It tried to free itself using the new functional device, but that didn't work. The device, not exactly dead, but definitely not alive, was unable to undo the seal. Frustration and despair nearly overwhelmed it again. The new device hovered in the sun outside of the cave. There was a side effect of the possession, it noted. A mist, dark green almost to the point of blackness, seemed to surround the device as it hovered patiently outside of the seal. It turned its attention to the broken device in the cave, but it was far too dark to see if that one had a similar corona about it. It wasn't an unexpected effect, but it was an unwelcome one. It would be much more difficult to hide its activities when all of its servants were surrounded by a dark green mist. It calmed itself, releasing its earlier despair. One step at a time, it had servants outside of the cave now. Though its soul was still trapped, unable to go past the golden barrier or the rune-carved walls, the signal could carry more and more of its awareness outside. It could see through myriad of eyes, hear through uncounted ears. If the current servants could not do what was needed, then it would use them to find a servant that would. More and more of its mind poured out of the cave, carried on the strange signals that these devices were sending out. Other than taking them over, it didn't bother trying to move them or have them act. It learned early on that moving them too far away from each other broke the connection between them. The pulse only reached so far. For now, there was just a frenzy of find and possess, tracking down each one it could find, then using that one to find still others. Slowly, it expanded, its mind covering all of Equestria and some ways beyond.
Whew, that was a fun party.
Twilight Sparkle stumbled into the library with Spike hopping off her back.
I'll say.
This sure was an exciting day. Seeing an actual chimera. I would have loved to have a chance to study it, though I suppose it was far too dangerous to keep around. Still, it's not every day you...
She trailed off, noticing a scroll with the Royal Canterlot seal rolled up on her desk.
Spike? What is this?
Oh, that. Sorry, that came for you this morning, but you were out. And then the alarm went off. I just forgot. I'm sorry.
Twilight sighed, then patted the dragon on the head.
It's okay, Spike. I know you didn't do it on purpose. Still, I'd better read it.
Wrapping the scroll in the glow of her horn, Twilight unfurled it and started reading the contents. Then, frowning, she read them again.
Oh no, this is bad.
What? What is it? Is it zombie ponies?
What? No! Spike, this is serious. Professor Glimmer is coming to town tomorrow morning for some research expedition, and Celestia is going to show up sometime next week.
Oh boy, here we go again.
What do you mean?
It's just, you get a little bit crazy whenever the princess is coming to town.
I do not.
The little dragon just stared back at her.
Okay, maybe a little. But it doesn't matter. Both the professor and the princess can sense what I can about Sunflower.
The whole lack of magic thing?
Yes, I need to let her know to keep indoors or hide for a while.
So, why are they coming here anyway?
Well, there seems to be some sort of strange phenomena surrounding Ponyville. Ripples are appearing all over. Professor Glimmer and another professor, Klaustrom, are coming out to see if they can find out what's going on.
What's a ripple?
Other worlds are bumping into ours, causing ripples in the fabric of our reality.
Twilight tried to keep it simple. However, she could see that the little dragon was already completely lost. She sighed, then tried again.
Liking your comic? The one with the invaders from another world? Where all the ponies in the other world were really buffalo for some reason?
Oh, okay, I get it.
Twilight wondered about that, but smiled anyway and continued.
The princess has asked me to help them and to keep an eye out for anything unusual. Things from other worlds could be coming through.
She stopped and felt a chill run down her spine.
Twilight, are you okay?
I'm fine, Spike. Just a little tired. Why don't you head to bed? I'll be up.
Oh, okay.
He looked back with a concerned expression as he walked up the stairs to the bedroom. Twilight felt a shocked sense of clarity. It all fit. Almost all, at least. It would certainly explain an awful lot. Of course, it would also mean that a lot of her initial assumptions were wrong. But still, what if the reason Sunflower existed outside of the magical field of Equestria was because she wasn't from Equestria in the first place? She woke up that morning in absurdly high spirits, still running off of yesterday's high. Today was the day of the Iron Pony competition, and she was bright and eager to get started. First, though, was the matter of breakfast. She decided to eat light that day and headed to the cafe for some fluffy wheat cakes that were sold there. With syrup, but no butter. She didn't want it too heavy of a load in her belly today, but plenty of carbohydrates would help to keep her energized. The other patrons were chatting away. Erin listened with half an ear, but she caught mention of the Iron Pony competition more than once. It seemed like the turnout was going to be pretty large. She smiled, thinking how good that would be for Applejack and her family. Yesterday's revelation was still hissing and popping in her brain like an unattended chemistry experiment. Dr. Velchek had even said during the initial presentation that some of the worlds they'd seen didn't have, quote, traditional physics. She shook her head ruefully. She's wasted so much time and energy dismissing what the ponies said about magic, just because they'd used the word magic. What did it matter what they called it? Whatever it was, it obviously worked, and it existed in this world. Trying to pound the reality of Equestria into the physics model she knew from Earth was a pointless and stupid exercise. She'd kept saying to herself that she'd just accept things as she saw them. But in reality, she was always trying to figure out what she would have considered to be the, quote, common sense solution to the problem. She just hadn't seen that common sense solution was that things were simply different here. The wheat cakes arrived, and Erin drizzled a ton of syrup over them, eating with gusto. She had 3 glasses of orange juice while she was at it, too. By the time breakfast was done, it was not quite 9 a.m. The competition didn't start until 10, which left her plenty of time to get to Sweet Apple Acres for the sign-in. Still, she decided it was better not to dally, so she paid for her breakfast, trotted out the front door, and made her way to Applejack's family farm. Twilight yawned hugely as she left the library. She had spent the night tossing and turning, not sure of what to do. Her suspicions weren't evidence, she knew that. But still, it fit. The questions Sunflower had asked demonstrated a significant lack of common knowledge. She didn't know much about magic and was remarkably ignorant on many aspects of pony life. She'd never seen unicorns or pegasi before coming to Ponyville. Furthermore, she explained why she didn't want Twilight researching a cure. After all, if she'd never had magic to begin with, then there was nothing to fix. But that didn't explain the cutie mark. How did a pony with no magic get a cutie mark? Could she be some sort of changeling? But no, that wasn't it. Even the changelings had been part of the magical field. It wasn't like she could just march up to Sunflower and demand to know if she was an alien from another world. Could she? She considered that course of action for a moment. Technically, she could, but there was only 2 possible answers to that. One, Sunflower could just say no, which would leave Twilight with further answers, since it would possibly be a lie. Or she could answer yes, and then Twilight would have to. Well, she'd have to figure out what to do next. And what should she do about the princess? It was her duty to tell the princess about anything odd happening in Ponyville that might be related to the ripples. But that would also be betraying Sunflower. But if Sunflower were really from another world, she had a responsibility to tell the princess. She didn't want to betray Sunflower, but she didn't want to hide anything from Celestia either. Twilight groaned and rested her head momentarily against a street post. She was no closer to solving this dilemma now than she had been when it first occurred to her last night. She was tempted, briefly, to not warn Sunflower about the arrival of other ponies who would be capable of sensing her oddness. If Professor Glimmer or the princess came across Sunflower, then the matter would be out of her hooves. But no, that's not what friends did. She had to at least talk to Sunflower first. Try to get her side of the story. Maybe then she can make up her mind on what to do. With a sigh, she headed out towards Sweet Apple Acres and the Iron Pony competition. She came in 3rd place at the barrel weave, due to a nicked barrel. If it hadn't been for that, she would have come in half a second behind Applejack, and a full second before Rainbow Dash. She didn't let it bother her. There were 20 events today, and each of the top 3 competitors for each event got points. 3 points for first, 2 for second, 1 for third. Erin was satisfied for the moment that she was at least on the board. If she could finish the day within striking distance of first place, then taking the win and running the Leafs tomorrow would give her the overall win. The first Iron Pony competitor across the line would get 3 points, unless she was first overall, in which case she'd get 5. There were nowhere near the number of competitors that Erin had expected for this event. A mere dozen, mostly Earth and Pegasus ponies, with a couple of unicorns thrown in. She knew most of them, at least by face, if not by name. Lyra was bouncing excitedly on her hooves with a big grin on her face, waiting for the next event. Junebug was standing next to her, rolling her eyes at the other mare's out-of-control excitement. Rose was also in the event, though the other members of the Panic Trio, as Aaron mentally considered them, were rooting for their friend from the stands. Aaron saw them waving at a blushing Rose, who was a little downcast after having finished 10th place. Aaron had her own cheering section, she'd noticed right away. She smiled and waved at Meadowlark and Marigold, the little filly positively bouncing with excitement as she waved a flag. Meadowlark smiled and waved back, before scolding her filly into sitting down. From her booth by the stands, Pinkie Pie announced the final winners of the first event. Fluttershy acted as scorekeeper, putting up the points on the board. Pinkie then announced the next event, the Bronco Buck. Apparently, unlike last year, there were no volunteers this year for the bucking contest. Instead, each contestant had a straw dummy lightly tied to his or her back. Aaron was slightly taken aback to notice the dummies were roughly human in shape. The referees wandered around the paddock, keeping a close eye on the contestants and making sure each dummy was strapped on properly, so no pony had any unfair advantage or disadvantage. One of the referees was her coworker, Lucky, who had actually managed to find a black and white striped shirt to wear. He tipped her a wink as the dummies were strapped on and wished her good luck. First pony to get their dummy off would win. The rules were no untying the rope, no rolling, no scraping the dummy off. Only a pony's own natural movement counted. Any pony who got their dummy off in an incorrect manner would be disqualified from this event. The whistle blew, the crowd started cheering, and all the ponies started bucking, watched by the careful referees. Erin's strategy was to leap as high as she could, land on her back legs, then plant her front legs and kick as hard as she could in hopes that the dummy's shifting momentum would tear it off her back. She smiled in satisfaction when her dummy went flying, but it wasn't fast enough to beat Applejack, who took her second win in a row. The farmer's own dummy was dangling from a nearby tree. Rainbow Dash took third, using an odd, vibrating tactic. That left Rainbow and Aaron tied at second place, but gave a widening lead to Applejack.
I don't get it. I totally beat you on that last one last year. What gives?
Last year we had a live rider, if you recall. I took it mighty easy because I didn't want to hurt Spike.
Well, you got lucky twice, AJ. Don't expect to keep going that way.
I sort of do, Rainbow. Y'all remember last year's competition?
Yeah?
Did you do any special training for it?
Nah, just my usual training every day, which is plenty.
Well, I didn't do no training either last year. That is. But this year was equestrian rodeo competition.
So?
So I trained my tail off for that. Never stopped afterwards.
Applejack grinned at Rainbow's sudden look of dread.
Y'all gonna have to step up your game a bit, Rainbow Dash.
Yeah, well, so are you.
AJ just chuckled and punched her lightly on the shoulder with a hoof. They walked side by side to the next event, still bickering. Aaron walked behind them with a smile. It went on like that for a few more events. Typically, AJ, Rainbow, and Aaron were in the top 3, but there were a few that broke the pattern. For the ball balance competition, Rainbow finished first, but a unicorn named Sparkler finished second, with Aaron in 5th, and Applejack finishing 7th. For jump rope, Aaron finished a disappointing last place, having never jumped rope as a pony and unsure how to even hold the rope with her hooves. She'd gotten hopelessly tangled up and had the indignity of requiring another pony to come by and untie her. Surprisingly, first place for the jump rope competition went to a Pegasus named Blossomforth. Rainbow muttered darkly about the other Pegasus' freaky flexibility and grumbled about her second place finish. One event that particularly interested Aaron was the hoof wrestle, where ponies went one-on-one. Aaron beat out Rainbow Dash, much to the latter's obvious discontent. Rainbow had to go up against Applejack's defeated opponent to see who would win third place, which meant that Aaron would have to go one-on-one with the heavily muscled farm pony herself. As they approached each other, AJ gave her a wide grin.
Now, don't be thinking I'm gonna go easy on you, Sugar Cube.
I was about to say the same to you.
They braced themselves, getting ready to start. Pinkie, up in the announcer's booth, narrated along.
It looks like our two finalists are ready to get started. Mares and gentle colts, who will win? Applejack, the honest work pony, or Sunflower, the super duper delivery mare? Only time can decide. Well, time and whoever actually wins, of course. Ooh, it looks like we're about to get started. And there they go. Applejack seems to have the upper hoof, but Sunflower pushes back. I don't believe it. I expected AJ to win this one in a snap. Some serious concentration from these two. Neither one giving so much as an inch, except for Sunflower, who just lost about 2 of them.
Erin tried to block out Pinky's voice with limited success as she concentrated on pushing AJ's hoof back upright. Her whole leg felt like it was on fire. That pony was seriously strong.
Sunflower has regained some lost ground, but AJ's still going strong. It's still any mare's game, folks. By the way, after the Iron Pony competition today, why not stop by Sugar Cube Corner for a tasty snack? Tell them Pinky sent you, and don't worry, they'll believe you, because I'll be working behind the counter. Oh, they're still going. What an amazing, yet still kind of boring competition. Wow, look at the veins popping out of their heads. That's kind of cool. They're both struggling not to lose any ground. Right now, it looks like the win will go to whoever blinks last.
Erin felt her limb trembling. It was only a matter of seconds before she lost. Applejack was too strong. It was like she was pushing against an iron bar sunk in concrete. There was no way. Wait, there was one way she could win. It was a tactic she'd used on occasion to beat her brothers in arm wrestling. It was risky, and it would cost her dignity if she lost, but still, even though this was a game of strength, it was also one of concentration. Erin stared Applejack right in the eyes. AJ stared back, grimacing with the effort. Once Erin was certain she had AJ's full attention, she quickly crossed her eyes and stuck out her tongue.
Bleh.
Applejack stared in shock and then burst out laughing. Erin was able to push her hoof over easily after that.
What an upset! Newcomer Sunflower employed a clever psychological gambit that completely broke Applejack's concentration to become the winner of the hoof wrestle. Whew, glad that's over. I was afraid one of their eyeballs was going to rupture or something. And that would have been really icky. We're at the halfway point, folks, and our current leaders are Applejack with a total of 19 points, with Rainbow Dash and Sunflower tied for second at 17 points each. The outcome is still up in the air, folks, which reminds me the next event is the high jump. But first, a half-hour intermission for every pony to rest up and grab some lunch.
Applejack grinned ruefully at her loss, waving off Erin's apology.
It was a fair tactic, Sunflower. One I should have thought of myself. I think my leg's gonna fall off.
Together, they made their way to the food tables. The Apple family had set out a free buffet for every pony that had paid the admission price. The stands emptied quickly as eager ponies rushed to the heavily laden tables to try and get their favorite foods before they were all taken. As a competitor, though, Erin followed the others to their own slightly secluded table. Her mouth watered at the sight of the food, but she was still resolved to eating high-carb but low-weight snacks. As such, she regretfully passed up several desserts and instead went for some bread, crackers, and lots of apple juice.
Sunflower, can we talk?
Erin turned, surprised to see Twilight Sparkle standing behind her. She nodded, swallowing her current mouthful of food.
Sure, Twilight. What's up?
It would be better if we spoke in private.
She turned to walk away. Confused but curious, Erin walked behind her as Twilight led her to a secluded area behind the bleachers. Twilight stopped, turning to face the Earth Pony, or whatever she was. Sunflower took a good look at her and gasped in mild surprise.
Wow, Twilight. You look really rough. Are you okay?
Of course, she was concerned. Sunflower was nice. That's what made this so difficult. She considered the mare a friend, and she was pretty sure Sunflower felt the same back.
I had a rough night.
Twilight admitted this without going into details. Then she steeled herself.
Ponyville is getting some visitors, starting today, that you might want to be aware of.
Oh?
One of them is my old professor. She can sense magical fields, just like I can. She'll be able to sense your, difference, I guess.
Sunflower already looked worried, and she didn't even know the half of it yet.
I wanted to let you know because I consider you to be a friend. But you'll want to be careful around the library and around the Ponyville Inn, and probably around town as well, and outside everywhere, really. Also, they're bringing Professor Clawstrom in as well. I don't know if he's got that same ability, but you should probably assume he does.
Thank you for letting me know, Twilight.
She was staring at her hooves with a preoccupied frown.
There's more. Princess Celestia will be coming out within the next few days as well.
Sunflower's gaze snapped up, fear replacing the worry on her features.
And that's not the worst of it, I'm afraid. They're looking for something specific. You see, they can sense. I'm not sure how to describe it, but they call it a ripple. It's where part of another reality brushes up against our own. Do you know that there are other realities out there? Different worlds, some similar to ours, others completely alien? Did you know that?
Twilight stared into Sunflower's wide green eyes. The mare looked stunned and sat down heavily on her hindquarters as her rear legs folded beneath her. Twilight knew that feeling. Also, with a sinking in her stomach, she knew that she was right. The look on Sunflower's face was, in an odd way, confirmation. It wouldn't hold up as any kind of real evidence, but Twilight had learned to trust her instincts.
They're looking for things that may have fallen through from one reality to another, Sunflower. I think that they're looking for you.
Erin was completely dumbfounded. Her rump in the dirt, she stared at the bedraggled unicorn in front of her. Twilight knew. She knew. Somehow she figured it out. And Erin wasn't ready for that. Not yet.
Twilight, I don't. That isn't.
What was she doing? Just what did she think she was about to do? Lie to her? There was no half truth that would get her out of this, no evasion. Twilight had her, dead to rights. She looked back into Twilight's purple eyes and saw herself reflected back in them. An odd sense of relief settled over her. Well, no pony could blame her now. Her cover was completely blown. No more lies needed. No more hiding. She could finally tell every pony what was going on. She'd been ordered to keep quiet, but how could she now? Furthermore, they could take their rules and shove them up their tail holes. She was sick of lying to these ponies. She felt slightly, oddly lightened, as if some huge burden had lifted off of her. She stood up, her back legs shaky, but she felt the resolve forming in her.
Twilight, I think it's about time.
She was interrupted by a loud air horn.
5-minute warning, every pony. Finish your snack and get on back.
Completely derailed, Erin stuttered for a moment. Twilight shook her head.
It's okay, Sunflower. You don't have to explain now. I realize you're kind of busy at the moment. Look, the professors and their entourage are all coming in early this afternoon, and I need to meet them and help them get set up. Why don't you take the rest of the day to think things over, and we can talk tonight? Does that sound?
I guess. Sure, that's fine. After the Iron Pony competition, then?
Okay. Thank you, Sunflower. And for what it's worth, I trust.
Twilight hugged her briefly around the neck, then trotted off. Erin stared after her in shock for a long moment, and then returned to the games. A new signal. Interesting. Something had contacted all of the devices under its control, and the probes were all responding, each one sending a massive burst of information to the source of the new signal. This signal had a new source, unlike the others which were scattered across the land. It allowed its mind to follow, flooding along multiple paths back to the source, and then a change. It was a transition of a sort, like walking from dry air into cool water. It found the device that was sending the signal, unlike anything it had ever encountered before. The mind was still insect like, rigidly organized and unshifting. but it was massive, completely unlike the drones it was controlling now. It flooded its mind into the device, attacking where it could. The previous experience with the drones helped somewhat, but it was still a massive struggle. Finally, it found a gap, forced it wider, and wedged its awareness through it. It was a world of information, most of which made no sense in the moment. It reveled in what it had found, completely bewildered by most of it. The feeling was like standing in front of a wall of solid crystal. It was impossibly beautiful inside this new device, yet completely inscrutable. What did any of this mean?
Aaron, can you hear me?
The entity froze in shock. That was the first voice it had heard, other than its own, in centuries. The voice sounded male, authoritative. Who or what was Aaron? The answer came as another voice whispered fiercely back, this one either a young male or a female, as far as it could tell.
Little busy at the moment, Doctor. Hold on.
Then the second voice spoke again, much more loudly.
I'll be back in a second, girls. Just need to use the little filly's room.
There was a chorus of confirmations, which confused the entity briefly before it realized that it was hearing what the owner of the second voice was hearing. There was the sound of trotting, then the opening and shutting of a wooden door. It listened intently.
Okay, I can talk now, Doctor. Listen, we may have...
Hold on, Aaron. I've just been informed of a problem.
There was a feeling of disconnect. The entity explored along the signal that seemed to connect the two voices. Sound had stopped coming from one direction. From the other, it heard a sigh of exasperation and some sullen muttering. However, what the owner of the second voice apparently couldn't hear, the entity itself could.
Any idea of what the problem is?
A third voice spoke.
No, sir. Just some really sluggish data feeds. Like all the probes are buffering.
What could cause that?
Probably some widespread weather phenomena. Most likely it's sunspots. The data is coming in, but it's coming in very slowly, like we're only getting about 25% of the full output from each device.
Keep looking into it.
There was a click, and the first voice began speaking again.
Sorry about that, Aaron. Slight difficulty with the probes. We'll get it sorted out. Now, you were saying?
I was saying that we have a problem. Twilight Sparkle figured out that I'm not from around here.
What?
Apparently, they've noticed that Equestria's getting a lot of attention from outside recently. Twilight's no idiot. She figured things out and asked me about it.
And what did you tell her?
Nothing yet, though I was planning to tell her everything later. Tonight.
Aaron, no. You will jeopardize all our efforts if you go blundering in there like that.
I don't think so. The princess herself is coming out here to investigate. This is a big deal. We're scaring them. At this point, any information could help to avoid unnecessary tensions. And besides, I'm sick of lying.
It felt the disconnect again, and knew that the owner of the first voice had stopped sending information. Aaron, the second voice, kept talking on, unaware.
We need to let them know what's going on. Besides, Twilight will tell the princess if I don't fess up. In my opinion, it'll be the lesser of two evils if I simply tell them what's coming, and that an actual diplomatic mission is on the way. It will put their minds at ease and make things easier when the diplomats arrive.
Inject solution A7 and prep the override.
Someone replied with an acknowledgement.
Set it to take over if she tries to talk to this Twilight Sparkle, or any other pony, about any of this.
The voice in the background replied with a query.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Make her fall asleep or something. Put her in a coma until we send a release signal. No, I don't want you to do it now. Give her some time for the drugs to kick in and for her to think it over.
Dr. Velchuk?
Aaron stopped talking a few seconds ago and was waiting for a reply. There was a click as the audio came back on.
Aaron, I know you want to tell all the ponies what's happening, but please, consider your actions. Anything you say could have profound implications for humanity's survival. Simply, you're not qualified to open negotiations between our
Worlds. How very interesting.
I'm not making this an order right now, but what I'm asking is that you take some time to think it over. Can you do that?
Twilight said the same thing. Alright, I promise. I'll think it over.
Very good, Aaron. We've only got a short time remaining before this window closes. Was there anything else you needed to bring up?
The entity panicked. It had just realized that it had a large portion of its mind in a device that rested on the other side of a fissure between worlds. A fissure that was apparently about to close as rapidly as it could. It began drawing its mind back into Equestria. The voices continued chatting, but it was no longer paying attention. It was far too busy trying to withdraw from the magnificent machine on the wrong side of the fissure. It was nearly complete when there was a sudden sense of loss and an intense feeling of pain. It howled in agony, the very rocks of its prison trembling with the force of it. A small part of its mind had been cut off, amputated neatly by closing of the fissure. All around Equestria, probes dropped out of the air as the creature in the cave howled and gibbered in torment. The door to the outhouse slammed open, and Erin marched out in a foul mood. It didn't help her composure that she had to have that conversation in an outhouse. And the thing about outhouses, whether equestrian or human, they're always pretty much stunk. Talking to Dr. Velchek had poked some holes in her earlier resolution. Somehow, her urge to defy him always seemed to fade after their talks. Something about the way he spoke always seemed so rational to her. She wished she knew how he did it. And there was a great silence as we waited for Sora.
Come on, Sugar Cube, you're up.
Aaron ran to join the other contestants. This particular competition was to pull a laden cart around a track. Whichever pony got the best time without losing any of her load would win. Aaron grinned. It looked like her working at FedEx was going to pay off for this particular competition. Putting the frustrating conversation with Dr. Velchek out of her mind, Aaron trotted up to get harnessed up. It wasn't sure how long it had lain there. Minutes, at least. Hours? The sun hadn't set, so it couldn't have been days. Eventually, the pain faded to an ache, and it began casting its mind back out, once again capturing drone after drone. Some had been damaged, it seemed, but for the most part, they were fine. A thought occurred to it. There was something else out there that was definitely not a device. She was, presumably, still on this side of the fissure. It sent its probes looking, trying to find the one called Aaron.
And the final results for today's competition. It should be no surprise who landed in the top 3. In the lead is the intrepid farm pony Applejack with 37 points.
The ponies in the stands cheered and stomped their hooves.
But wait, because Rainbow Dash is only a half step behind with 36 points.
More cheering and stomping, especially from Scootaloo, who is wearing a rainbow-colored wig.
And tied for second, we have Sunflower, 36 points.
More cheering, and Erin blushed. Not that she minded the accolades so much, but still, having that much attention on her was slightly embarrassing. She saw Marigold in the stands, hopping up and down enthusiastically, waving her little flag.
Unfortunately, no pony else who scored today is nearly high enough in points to have a shot at finishing in the top 3. But as far as who will win and be crowned our first ever Iron Pony, that question will be answered tomorrow at the Running of the Leaves. Hope to see you all there. Good night, every pony.
There was some more cheering, and then the crowds in the stands started to break up. Erin was pleasantly tired, and decided she'd take a trip to the spa again to help her relax after the day's activities. Applejack was at the end of the field, personally thanking every pony for stopping by. Rainbow Dash was not exactly happy with her second place finish.
I shouldn't have agreed to take so many wing-restricted events. Last year was a total shutout. Or nearly. This year I'm in second place. Second place!
Tied for second, actually. Look, don't worry about it. If you win tomorrow's race, then the absolute worst that you can do is tie for first. If you win first in the race overall, then you'll win.
Yeah. Once I win the running of the leads, then I'll be all set.
You make it sound like a foregone conclusion. I'm not planning on making it easy on you, Rainbow Dash.
I wouldn't expect you to.
Rainbow checked her lightly with a shoulder.
What are your plans for the rest of the night? Want to hang out? Maybe get something to eat?
Sure, but I was planning on going to the spa really quick, and I have to talk to Twilight about something later tonight. I kind of promised.
Erin still wasn't sure what she was going to do about that. Her earlier resolve to tell the unicorn everything had been replaced by massive amounts of self-doubt.
The spa? Sunflower, why would you want to do that? It's all that frilly frou-frou nonsense.
Rainbow gestured with her hooves, trying to adequately convey the horrors of frou-frou-ness.
You know, Rainbow Dash, athletes go to spas all the time.
What? Really? No way.
Well, not necessarily spas so much as like massage centers and stuff. Think about it. Don't you have any sore or kinked up muscles right now?
The Pegasus looked at her back leg and flexed it.
Maybe.
Erin smiled at her. She'd known that Rainbow had injured her leg slightly during the long jump, and the mare had been favoring it more and more as the day went on. She'd really hoped that Rainbow would come along and hopefully get that taken care of. She herself had been feeling oddly tingly since the last event.
Well, what's wrong with going in and getting massaged to work out some kinks? And then relaxing your tired muscles in a nice warm bath. It's not silly or frou-frou. That's taking care of your body. No pony is saying you have to get your hooves done or anything.
Fine.
I'm glad. You'll see. You'll feel like a million bits once you're... Oof.
Rainbow laughed as Erin unexpectedly tripped over her own hooves and face planted.
Nice one, Sunflower.
Yeah, laugh it up.
Erin rolled her eyes and got back to her hooves. Or at least, tried to. Her right front leg wasn't responding, suddenly becoming stiff as a board and sticking straight out. She collapsed again as Rainbow Dash stopped laughing.
Hey, are you okay, Sunflower?
Yeah, I think... Ah!
Her legs started twitching and jerking around briefly before stopping, and then her rear legs both stiffened up as well. Erin flopped back into the dirt, helplessly. Ponies gathered around, looking concerned.
That's not right. Sunflower, hey!
Rainbow pointed at the stallion in the gathering crowd.
You, go get one of the nurses, now! Go!
I'm fine, Rainbow.
She was struggling to get back up. She'd lost control over all her legs now, though she could only watch in a stupefied horror as they twitched and convulsed.
Yeah, right, you're fine. Try to relax, okay?
Rainbow held her down with a hoof. Erin tried to protest, but then her limbs stilled and fell, dead weight for a moment. She tried to move them, to exercise some control, but they didn't respond. And then, Erin noted with creeping horror, they started moving in a more normal fashion all by themselves. Slowly, and without any input whatsoever from her brain, she began to stand.
Well, that was weird. Are you feeling better?
I'm not doing this.
She looked up into the Pegasus's shocked eyes.
Rainbow, I'm not doing this. They are doing it on their own.
What? Sunflower, don't be... Hey, what's going on? Are you on fire?
Erin looked back down. An eerie dark mist, colored a sickly toxic green in the afternoon sunlight, began oozing out of her hooves and creeping up her legs. The crowd around her gasped in shock and pulled back.
What's going on?
Her legs didn't feel like they were on fire. She could still feel them. She just couldn't move them. She felt a shiver run up her back as she realized that she couldn't move any part of her body except her head. And then, without warning, her head slumped forward and began twitching and shaking. She could feel the ears flopping madly on her head. She was aware of Rainbow calling her a name, general panic around her, but she couldn't move a muscle of her own volition. Finally, her head stilled and then raised. Erin, just a passenger in her own body at this point, stared out of her eyes in mute terror as her head looked around. All around her were ponies, staring at her with fear. Many of the surrounding crowd had vanished. Two that had remained were Meadowlark and Marigold. Erin noted with distress that the filly was crying and struggling to get out of her mother's grip to come to her. Meadowlark, fear written large across her features, was wisely holding her filly back. Rainbow Dash grabbed her face and pulled it towards her own.
Hold on, Sunflower. Are you okay? Can you hear me? Hold on, the nurses are almost here.
Erin saw the green mist curling off of her muzzle as her lips twitched themselves into a smile. One of her hooves came up and knocked Rainbow's leg away from her. Then she felt her body step backwards. Then there was a click. That same one that Erin had learned meant that there was an open line of communication to the Harmonics lab. She felt a burst of hope. If there was something wrong with her body, then the Harmonics lab could help her. But that voice she heard coming over the line chilled and terrified her. Oddly echoing, as if there were one main voice being repeated by dozens of other, smaller voices. And the voice that only she could hear said,
Well, hello there, my little pony. And, oh, my goodness, what interesting things you have in your head.
dun dun dun.
Yay, we're done.
Help!
Well,
help,
it's
Winchester's taking over
Decepticons.
my body.
OMG, I want to play the entity next time. No, I'm not even joking because of the software that I have with my mic.
That is the reason why you didn't.
Bit. I would have made it sound so cool.
Yeah, he should have. He should have.
No, he shouldn't
Great.
have, because I hate
I
his
would-
stupid software that he has
But
almost been
it's
banned from
You're
his
great.
chat.
jealous of it.
I would
That's
say
what
let's
you
take
are.
a vote, but this is a dictatorship.
I'm gonna get another beer while you guys argue this out.
I
Can we
Wait,
just
what
stop
are we
with the
arguing?
puns? We're all sulfuring right now.
What happened? What's happening right now?
I
Skyrace has a
destroyed. Yeah,
voice changing thing and does dark evil voices very
dark,
well.
evil, annoying sounded synthetic, whatever crappy voices.
And believe the last time that we used it was 2 Halloweens ago,
yeah, it was like that door
and
entity.
it was
remember?
good.
Yeah.
It really brought that dark entity to life.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna set one up right now. Give me a second.
And apparently you're clipping, Winchester.
We talked
That was-
about that already.
Now, is it just me or did this chapter get fucking real?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, and just so you know, the next reading will be the last time we'll do 2 chapters in one sit down. After the next one, it'll all just be 1 chapter.
Ooh.
Noted.
Oh
Yep,
yeah,
so-
those are good-sized chapters.
Yep. So the next reading will be the last time we do 2 chapters because one is really short. But after that, all the chapters range from like 7,000 to 11,000 words each. So it's like, yeah, just one.
Yikes.
I feel like I stumbled
I
a lot
think you
in
have
one.
that wrong. One of them is
Same.
13,000.
I'm
Oh,
just
boy.
giving an estimate, okay?
Oh boy.
Oh
So
boy.
we are at chapter 16, and there are a total of 31 chapters.
Oh wow,
Mm.
we are over the halfway mark.
I didn't realize it was such a long story.
Just.
Already halfway there.
Whoa!
Whoa, lizard on a chair.
Take my
Yeah, you asked for
Oh.
that one.
Take
I mean, there's
my
always my
hand,
ending.
worth Bacon, I swear.
Bacon. Oh, I love bacon.
Bacon.
What's
Bacon.
your ending?
Yeah.
Like, and
Oh.
I'm concerned.
We don't want to. We
Oh,
don't
it's
want to
just
know
in the chat
Lycan's
there.
ending.
Yeah, you don't want to see the ending.
Oh.
there multiple endings?
There are millions of endings.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh, we lost Sky Rays. He was like permanently muted. That was weird.
no. Yeah, it was 7 mute.
Oh, so
Winchester.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
But yes, so anyways, I suppose we can get to shout outs.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now.
Okay. Hold on.
Did you like that, Sora? I managed to get through that well within your time frame.
yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah.
So like we still got some extra time.
Yeah.
Sora
So-
loves finishing on time.
I do.
So anyways, for shout outs.
Oh my god.
You fucking fell for it.
So anyways, on to shout outs. We'll start out with somebody who should be slightly expecting it, Forrest Rain.
Oh, shout out to Hoopy McGee for creating an awesome chapter. I don't know. I've really liked this story. It's a pleasure every time I get to come back and actually read for this story. So I'm glad that my work schedule has worked out for it for the most part.
Yeah, that Larsus's
Also,
work schedule hasn't.
true. However, that's why there's multiple of us. Shout out to Somber for Fallout Equestria Project Horizons, which I am still chugging through.
How far along are you?
Good question. Chapter 20? Tell you in a second.
Chapter a lot.
Chapter 25. Competition.
Ah, okay, the Reapers.
Yes. Yeah, that's my shout outs. I don't really have much else.
Alrighty. And
Oh,
next
wait,
on
except for Fallout, the other Fallout that I'm part of, which we're still working on. Apparently, I got information on that. It's gonna release officially at HarmonyCon. I think it's gonna officially release at HarmonyCon with the first chapter.
Nice.
Oh. Okay then.
So, no pressure, Wesley.
Okay. So Sora, you go next now that you should have had time to think of a shout out.
I actually didn't because I don't know what to say.
Shout out to Sam Synthis.
Yeah, shout out to Sam. Hi, Sam.
Alrighty. And next on the Lycan.
Shout out to actually finishing on time. We're
And
doing
Tim Tams.
and Tim Tams. Oh, of course. You got to do a Tim Tam slam where you bite the corners and then you stick it in a cup of coffee and use the Tim Tam like a straw. So you suck up all the coffee through the Tim Tam and then it melts as you like drinking it as well. It's just beautiful. It's gorgeous.
And it sounds like.
I have many of questions. What's a
I didn't know it was hollow on the inside.
No, it's more like you guys call them cookies. It's kind of like a chocolate coated cookie. So you actually drink it through the cookie, and as you're drinking it, the cookie goes
okay.
along.
So it is like a cookie straw then?
It's like a
It-
wafer.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're amazing.
Okay.
They're amazing.
I think I may have had them more than anybody else in this call, except for Lycan, of course.
Yeah, because one of the Aussies, Cirrus, decided to bring 40 pounds of Australian chocolate to BronyCon.
Well, and
Nice.
you brought it. Let's see. You had some. You
Yes,
had
I
like.
brought it multiple times as well.
Well, yeah, you had some at HRPC, and then you had some more at Cider Fest, and then
Mhm.
and then the ones at BronyCon.
And can I just finish my shout out with the urge to sing the song "The Lion Sleeps Tonight"? Well, it's only just a whim away. A whim away.
Ah.
Oh god.
I quit. Goodbye.
Okay. And next on to Double R.
Shout outs to Project Sunflower. It's a great story. It's nice working on it. Also, shout out to one of my favorite musician artists, Pogo. Unfortunately, his YouTube account just got hacked. So yeah, who knows when that's actually going to get fixed. Hope things work.
Yeesh.
Yeah, and he had like 800,000 subscribers too, so it's like it hurts. And he had 13 years worth of videos, and they're gone. The Hackers deleted it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So change your passwords, people, like I haven't done for the last 10 years.
Noted.
Wait, does password 123 still work for you? Oh my god.
Shh, don't tell everyone.
I thought it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Just Winchester, I changed it from 1, 2, 3.
Wait, you did? You just told me like in a message last night. Here, I can bring it up for all stream to see.
It's now ASDF 1234.
Can you stop? All of you, stop!
Oh wait, no, that was the one for your banking information. That's right.
Can you
No.
not?
No,
Please
that one
don't
was
tell
Hunter
people I'm with
2.
USAA.
That was
Well-
Hunter 2. I really hope someone gets that shit. That
Well-
throwback.
And isn't your username like Assmaster27 or something?
Can you not, please? It's embarrassing
Wait, I
enough
thought that was
without telling
Sora's.
everybody. Oh.
Alrighty, and and next on to CMC.
Yes. Fires, explosions, LOE, Roan, venison jerky. Shout outs to Commander who's hiding in the chat there. I see you. I see you.
We all see you.
So wait, we have
I
two
see
double
dead
R
people.
forest up here then.
What?
No, we only have
You're
one.
Stop
'Cause there's
cloning.
two forests and then there's double R forests. So there's
Oh
just
dear,
like...
you started cloning them.
Oh
But I
no.
will always
Oh,
use
no.
the double R.
Does
Yep.
this mean I get to do harmonies with myself?
Yes, you have to harmonize live.
Fine.
Hello.
No, only
We
two.
once got them to stand next to each other, and then we suddenly had the Amazon. It was a forest.
I
No,
can.
just go. And
Uh,
all right. Thank you all for showing up. My shout outs go out to all of you wonderful readers and people who are here in this call. It was great. And
Wait,
shout
did
outs to all you
Skype get
people.
shout-outs?
of
And
course, I
shout
get
outs to all you people out in the chat that were all here.
Of course, he skips me, Winchester.
We,
I'm calling you out on that. Did you hear that, Chad? He skipped me. Ugh.
I so
Commander
yes.
took notice of me noticing.
So thank you all. It has been fun.
No.
And yeah, also I am really scared about the first chapter releasing before there for other reasons. So yes. So anyways, thanks everybody for showing up. Yeah, everybody say goodbye.
Hello.
Goodbye, everybody.
Shit, I didn't have a song lined up. I should do that. Oh, here, have some Ava. Thank you all for showing up. It's been fun. This is Winchester 572 going 10-7. I'm out. Bye-bye.